Hi, welcome to the Week 8 edition of the Daily Record High School Football Insider. We actually have a studio audience today, and we want to welcome the people watching. I'm sports editor Aaron Dorksen, along with sports writer Mike Plant.
Hey, Aaron. It's getting down to crunch time as we head into Week 8's games. It's not too early to be thinking about the playoff picture for a lot of area teams, and we're going to be talking about that at the end of the show today.
That's right, Mike, but first we're just going to run down the slate of games throughout the area this week. We'll jump right into the action with the Wayne County Athletic League. First place, unbeaten Hillsdale, still seems to be headed for a showdown with Norwayne in Week 10 for the championship, both undefeated. But first, the Hillsdale Falcons have a tough game this week when they go to Northwestern. The Huskies only 2-5, but they put up 39 points last week on Smithville in a game that unfortunately for the Huskies, the Smithies scored 56. Northwestern, two sophomores, Malachi Noletti, looked really good throwing the football and running it, and Tyler Smith, another sophomore, scored 4 touchdowns in the game. So definitely some things to watch for and be a little concerned about for Smithville.
Yeah, not only that, Malachi Noletti automatically goes on to the first team all-daily record name team. The thing about Hillsdale going to Northwestern, 2 years ago, the Huskies at home ruined Hillsdale's chance at their first Wayne County Athletic League title, and Hillsdale has not won at Northwestern since 1999. So traditionally, it's been a tough place for them to play. The other Wayne County Athletic League co-leader, Norwayne, will be hosting Dalton, 1-6 and 1-3 in the league. The Bobcats, Aaron, of course, are undefeated at 7-0 and 4-0, outscoring their Wayne County Athletic League opponents 56-9 and averaging 435 yards of offense. So the Bobcats have really been unstoppable.
Yeah, Norwayne's been unstoppable. I would agree with that, and they're going to take on a Dalton team that does have some confidence. They picked up a win over Rittman last week. Chase Moyer for Dalton continues to shine on all 3 phases of the game. The quarterback is playing well. He's playing good on defense. So, you know, the Bulldogs will be an underdog, but do have some confidence coming into that one. Another game is Waynedale at Chippewa this week. Waynedale, both these teams on rough streaks that they would love to see end. Chippewa has lost 20 straight games. Waynedale had a 3-year streak of making the playoffs, but this season's really struggled. They've been outscored 119-0 the last 3 weeks, Mike.
Yeah, the county's schedule didn't do them any favors, as those 3 teams in a row were, of course, Hillsdale, Norwayne, and Smithville. This is a series, Aaron, that started back when Apple Creek used to play Old Doylestown High back in 1924. So there's a lot of history behind this. Recent history hasn't been real good for Chippewa, and they're going to have to do something. They've been good in the fourth quarter, but by that time the games have been over. They've been outscored 243-7 in the first 3 quarters of their first 7 football games. And the last Wayne County Athletic League matchup, an old rivalry, Smithville will be making the short trip over to Rittman to take on the Indians. Smithville last week kept their offense moving like it has just about all year, but surprisingly gave up 39 points to Northwestern. But the Smithies in a pretty much win-out mode right now to have any playoff hopes or any hopes of grabbing a share of the league title. We'll have to keep winning. Rittman moved the ball a little bit better last week in a loss at Dalton, Aaron.
Yeah, I was at Smithville last week to see their game against Northwestern and really enjoyed seeing the old school style of football the Smithies are playing. The 2 running backs, Mark Hilty and Ian Steiner, are just throwback bruiser running backs. They both had 3 touchdowns, and they're both, they both could wind up with 1,000 yards this year if they can keep it going. So that completes the slate of games in the Wayne County Athletic League. We'll take a short break and be back to talk about the hotly contested Ohio Cardinal Conference. Back, and let's get into talking about the OCC. The hotly contested league battle has West Holmes and Madison. The 2 last place teams last year are tied for first along with Ashland Mike. Mansfield Senior and Worcester struggling a little bit in the OCC, but believe it or not, Worcester has about a 50-50 chance of still making the playoffs if they can win out. The bugaboo for Worcester all year has been the defense, and the OCC losses, they've given up more than 40 points a game. So if they can get that defense in check the offense never seems to be a problem with quarterback Devin Doherty, running back Devontae Anderson, wide receiver Darian Owens. And Mansfield Senior is going to present a lot of problems, too. Worcester struggled when they played Ashland, gave up a lot of yards, and Mansfield Senior's coming off a record-setting passing performance last week, Mike.
Right, and I know we've talked most of the year in Worcester's losses about their defense, the lack of defensive success they've had. Last week, Randy Worrell was at the Lexington-Worcester game and said Worcester was also hurt with some special teams plays, so that's another area that the Generals can shore up. Traditionally, they've had a lot of success against dealing with Mansfield Senior and the speed that they have. They lead the overall series 14-2, and they've only lost one time since the Ohio Cardinal Conference has started. So, like you said, Worcester still has some faint playoff hopes. Over at Ram Field at Mansfield-Madison, the Orville Red Riders at 4-3 and 2-2 will be traveling over to take on one of the tri-leaders in the Madison Rams. Madison 6-1, losing only to West Holmes in OCC play. Orville, of course, coming off a disappointing 14-0 loss at home against Ashland. It dropped them to 2-2. And Aaron, it seems like with Orville, you either get the good Orville or the bad Orville, up and down. This is their up week, and they're going to try to smooth some of those inconsistencies that have really cost them in league play out.
Yeah, Orville controls its own destiny as far as making the playoffs if it wins out, but they've just been a real roller coaster season on offense. The defense has pretty much always been there. It's just hard to believe for a lot of area football fans and even media like us that they were shut out last week. So they're going to have to get it going on offense. Mansfield-Madison, the way they beat Worcester earlier this year when I covered the game, is a ball control offense. So if Mansfield can keep the game tight, control the ball on offense, and keep the ball away, that's what they're going to try to do, and Orville has to get them off the field. Also in the OCC, Lexington is going to visit West Holmes. The first-place Knights continue to use a ball control offense, which I just talked about, and then they mix in the big pass play when they get the chance. It's been an unbelievable season for West Holmes, and we'll see if they can continue that on.
Yeah, the thing is, last week was a really big bounce back for them. They're such a young team, but they showed a lot of resiliency coming off the Orville loss by outscoring Mansfield Senior. And the thing is, with West Holmes, Lane Perrone stepped in the lineup and got a lot of carries and had a big game, had a 4-touchdown game on the ground. So it's been different guys stepping up different weeks for West Holmes. As they go for their first OCC title, they've never been better than fourth in the league. So it's good to see the Knights having something to play for, and they as well have some faint playoff hopes. Other games, we have Manchester at 4-3 and 3-1 in the Principals Athletic Conference is coming to Triway. The Titans 0-7 overall and 0-4 in the conference, Aaron, and have not found a way to put the ball in the end zone after such record-setting offenses the last few years. Triway has just 3 offensive touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a tough season for Triway. Coach Tony Lee and his team, they're just going to play up the fact this is senior night, the last home game for Triway. I expect them to go out and give it everything they have. They are underdogs, and then also maybe in the back of the mind as Manchester kind of spoiled their league hopes the past couple of years. So these kind of games like this, Triway could be a dangerous team if they can get some things to click early. They shouldn't even feel pressure. They're the underdog, but if they can go out there and lay it all on the line, that's what you like to see in a game like this, Mike.
Yeah, and then the other packed game in the area, Timken at 4-3, 1-3, will be traveling to Tuslaw, coming off a big loss last week against Manchester, and Cloverleaf will be hosting Revere, and East Knox in the Mid-Buckeye Conference will be traveling to Loudonville. Loudonville is only 2-5 overall, but may be one of the most entertaining teams we've seen in a long time. Last week they were beaten 49-48 at Centerburg. Went for a 2-point conversion pass in the final minute, and it was controversially called incomplete. So the Redbirds lost a tough one, but they're hosting a 1-win East Knox team tomorrow. And that wraps up our look at Week 8's games Friday night. And Aaron, I know that you talked to College of Worcester professor Drew Pasteur, who has an interesting take on different teams and their playoff scenarios.
Yeah, Drew has a website called fantastic50.net, and he takes it a step further than joeitel.com that really does a good job listing the computer points. What fantastic50.net does is it computes future outcomes based on probabilities. He was not able to explain the premise for his formula to this former C college algebra student, but trust me, it works. He's picking almost 80% of the games correctly last week, and his numbers have gone up each week as he gets more data, i.e. the game scores. So I'll run down real quick what some of the odds are he has for our teams to make the playoffs. Worcester only 3-4, but if they win out, 43% chance of making the playoffs. Norwayne probably has a home game, even if they would lose the big Hillsdale game. Orville, even if they lose all three, they still actually have about a 50-50 shot. They're probably headed to the playoffs, Mike. The team really on the bubble is Hillsdale at 7-0 because its opponents have done so poorly. If they would go 9-1, they only have a 14% chance of making the playoffs. They basically have to win that big Norwayne game in Week 10. And Smithville at 5-2, again, hurt by the weak Wayne County Athletic League. Even if they win out, including a win over Norwayne, only a 31% chance of making the playoffs in Division 5. So some interesting stuff to look at. Obviously, Mike, the teams, that's not their focus, looking at these kind of numbers.
Well, so basically what you're saying is Norwayne and Orville can afford to even stub their toes. Hillsdale has to win out. Smithville has to win out and probably get some help, along with Worcester and West Holmes needing some help.
Right, I didn't mention West Holmes, but West Holmes needs a little help as well. So that completes this week's Daily Record, High School Football Insider.
You can read about all of Friday night's games in Saturday's Daily Record High School Sports Extra, and get your sports news every day in the Daily Record.
Thanks for watching.